Okay, so we have class methods. We also have static methods. So this one's just hard to explain. And it's hard to understand too, but it's hard to explain. So a static method is basically a method we include in our class because we're going to need it, right? It doesn't reference any of the properties of the class. It doesn't reference any of its other methods. It's just a method that we're going to need at some point. Okay, so I use the analogy of like a jack in a car, like a tire repair system, right? So we use the same way we define a class method, we use the decorator static method to define it as a static method. And basically, let's say we have a Tesla that happens to have a self dot tires flat equals false, right? So a static method would basically be fixed tire, right? Something that's there in case we need it. And if we get a flat tire, we can call the fixed tire method on either the instance or the class. It doesn't matter. So static methods can be called on either one, but it's there just in case we need it. Okay. Does that make sense? Questions about that?
So where would you use that? Would that be for using it in a function outside of there?
Yeah, yeah. So what we're going to use it for is for validations. So when we take in information from a user in our web app, if we want to check to make sure that they type in the right password, right? We're going to use this to validate, or I shouldn't say password. We're going to check to see if their email is a valid format. We're going to use a static method for that. We want to make sure that they have at least 3 characters in their name. We're going to use a static method for that. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to a user, but it's a useful method that we're going to be using on a instance of the user or a user class. So again, it's hard to explain. You're going to kind of have to like trust me. And then when we get to static methods, I'm going to see, this is where we use static methods. Okay, so my example is this. Let me, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna keep recording. So if we go back to our Tesla class, let's just say that Elon has decided to give 10 shares of Tesla to everybody who buys a Tesla. Okay, so we want to be able to check the stock price of Tesla. Okay, so we don't care. We don't need any of the attributes, or we're not going to reference self anywhere in our check for the stock price because it doesn't matter. We're not keeping track of it anywhere. So we can't, and actually you can't use self in a static method. It has to be just some reference to something outside. So we want to be able to check the stock price of Tesla. Okay, so bear with me here. So I have, I need to get my notes. Give me 1 second. There it is. Okay. Oops. Copy. Drive class. Put it right here. Okay. So all this method is going to do is take in a ticker symbol for a company and return its stock price. Okay. So I need to, requests is, we'll talk about requests much later, but I'm going to need that to make an API call. So I'm going to import requests. Okay. So now, and I hid my API key so you guys don't steal my API key. So let me just import it. import. No, it's not. It's from API import API. There we go. Okay, so all this method is going to do is take in a ticker and return the stock price. Okay. And again, this is just something that we may need, right? If we want to if the 10 shares of Tesla that came with our car goes up or down, we want to be able to check its price, right? So now if I run this, make sure I'm in the right place. Uh-oh. Did I not call it API? I did call that API. Okay. Don't peek. It's API. Let me change it in here. From API import. Okay. So now I can call that static method on either an instance of the Tesla. So what do I do? I'm getting confused to my Tyler. Yeah. So I can say Tyler dot get stock quote. And it's TSLA, right? Tesla?
It is.
Oh, it's not on that. It's on this Tesla. Tyler dot Tesla dot get stock quote. There we go. So that will give me the stock quote for Tesla. But what if we want the stock quote for Apple, right? So we don't want it to necessarily be tied to any particular stock. So if I want to get Apple, AAPL, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
That's crazy.
this will give me the stock quote, the opening, closing, current for Apple, Tesla. If I wanted to get AT&T,
So you're able to use just the like the acronym of the stock because of the API?
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I don't really get APIs. Did they go over that? I must have like missed that.
I'm
day.
going to go over it at the very end after the belt. So you can use APIs in your projects,
Project.
but it's not
Okay.
really part of the belt exam.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I know this example seems kind of contrived, but it's hard to explain like what the point is until you actually see how they're being used. Okay, so just know that the static methods, you can't use self, you can't use class, you can't use any part of the class it belongs to. It's just kind of like a spare tire, right? It's just something that you may need, or if you're going to need, you know you're going to need it, you want to include it. Okay. All right, makes sense? Maybe, sort of, kind of. All right.